My name is Jonathan Scruggs from Hawaii. That's where I met my wife. Uh,
I'm Vanessa Scruggs. We met in high school. We were married for 17 years.
she was a wrestler, and I was a football, basketball player, and I worked in the concession stand. And she came by one time with all the wrestling girls, and I remember my cousin Jordan wrestled, and I was like, "Hey, who's that girl? I've never seen her." And he's like, "Oh, that's Vanessa. She just moved here from Washington." And I was like, "Oh, okay, okay. Find out what type of candy she likes." So he came back and he's like, "Oh, she likes I think purple Skittles. She likes Skittles." So I literally went, bought Skittles from the concession stand, told the lady I'm gonna take a break, and then went and gave it to her. And she's like looking at me like, "Who are you? And why are you giving me candy?" And I was like, "Oh, hey, my name's Jonathan. That's my cousin over there, Jordan. And I just thought you wanted Skittles, so here you go." And then just ever since then, like just bumping into each other.
I was a sophomore, he was a junior. Um, and yeah, a bag of Skittles. We got married in 2007. So we've been married this year will be 17 years. We got married in Hawaii and then we transitioned and we moved to California. And people used to call us gypsies.
A lot.
We used to move a lot, but we're now rooted in planted in
Yes, Planet Strong. We ain't moving.
We grew up together, so we pretty much did everything together. And that was nice. We got to live life, and learn life lessons. He actually brought me to the Lord. I didn't grow up in church, so knowing that he did, I kind of drew towards that because I always wanted to know who the Lord was. And his parents were pastors, so I looked up to them, as role models for something that I kind of wanted. And so he invited me to church a few times, and ever since then, I just tried to pursue the Lord, not wholeheartedly, but I just wanted to know who this God was that everybody knew, and I didn't.
So my mom and dad were pastors for the Assembly of Gods in Illinois, and then in Hawaii too. At Hawaii was Assembly of God. So like I was brought up in church. I saw many of testimonies. I seen many miracles. You know what I mean? So like the faith I had growing up was like the unstoppable faith. Like I had the childlike faith all the way through high school. High school love, you know how it is. On, off, on, off. We break up, we make up, we break up, we make up. Don't have good grades. Dad's like, you gotta get rid of her. You can't have a girlfriend. And then I get grades up. Okay, you can go back to her. So
I know the first year of everyone's marriage is probably the toughest, and we went through a lot of trials and tribulations and just getting to know each other on a marriage level. And so we moved to California with my parents, and we moved on our own, and we just kind of we lived the married life, and then everyone kept asking me, when are you guys gonna have kids? When are you guys gonna have kids? 6 years into marriage, we finally sat down and was like, what's really going on? 6 years is a long time to not have a child yet. And I had an emergency appendectomy in 2011, and the surgeon saw a cyst, said, "I need you to go get this checked, and I need you to see if it's, cancerous." And so I went and I found a doctor who was highly recommended. And I basically told her my story. Been married for 6 years, and I'm the oldest of 7 kids, so I never thought that I would ever have fertility issues. I'm like, my mom had no issues, right? So after talking with this doctor, we set up a surgery to, remove the cyst, to check on it. It was nothing, but we did what's called a dye study test, where they check the flow of the fallopian tubes to see if basically I'm fertile. Or I get the phone call later that day from the doctor, and she basically said I could not conceive it on my own. That we would have to do IVF, which is very expensive. So immediately I just lost all hope for being a childbearing woman. Um, and so that year was a very dark and depressing year for me. I cried and told him how sorry I was because I wasn't able to give him children, and that I wasn't able to provide what a wife is supposed to. And there was times where I wouldn't talk to him because of how ashamed I felt, how unworthy I was. And then I remembered there's God, and I just continued to pray. And it says, let go and let God. I did. But I didn't chase God. I was just living a worldly life and completely forgetting the fact that I'm not going to be able to bear a child. And every time we would talk to his parents or see his parents, I was always prayed over. My womb was prayed over. And more my faith grew to somewhat trust the Lord, that I kept hearing that it's on God's time, but when you constantly seeing other women who don't deserve to have children, and you can't, it kind of hurts.
There's a lot of times where I'll come home after work to her door locked in the bathroom, and I just hear her crying, and we'll be sitting opposite sides of the door, and I'm trying to talk to her, just feed her and everything about God and all the wonderful testimonies of it in the Bible, about how awesome He is. You keep saying this, but doctors already said it can't. So I was like, man, Lord, like, I know you're gonna have the final say in this. And
so about halfway through, maybe about 6 to 8 months after I had my surgery, I started to regain that hope and started to pray more, and started to just try to seek some scriptures, talk to John's mom a little more. I have an aunt, she goes to church religiously, just, she's a full-blown Christian, and I reach out to her sometimes, and I just started to build this prayer community around me. We lived life. I mean,
stop worrying, stop stressing
Yeah.
about
I got out of
being able
the
to have
depression. I got out of locking myself in the bathroom, and I got back into work. I think that had a lot to do with it. I wasn't working at the time, so I feel like I had a lot of in my thoughts, moments. And when I got back into work, I was distracted a little more. I worked for a startup practice. I worked for a dental office, and we had this convention that we did, and I had to carry this huge box. I swore it was like 50 pounds for a whole block. My doctor's tiny, so I didn't want her to carry the box. And so I carried this box, and the next day I went to work, and I was just in a lot of pain, back pain. And so I told my doctor, I'm like sore, so I'm gonna go to the ER on my lunch break, and if all checks out, I'll come back to work, whatever. And I went to the ER, and they examined everything, and they were going to give me some muscle relaxers and sent me on my way. And the doctor says, any chance that you could be pregnant? And I chuckled, right? I'm like, come on, why would you even ask that? No. I've had a lot of pregnancy tests I've taken, and they all say negative. I was told I can't have any. And he said, well, I have to just make sure you're not. So I went ahead and they did the test, and then I was in the hallway, and he calls me back in the room, and
good news or bad?
He said, you're pregnant. And immediately I cried. I've never seen a positive test in my life. He said, it can't be true. And he said it's positive, and we're gonna do some blood work. I said was told I can't have any kids. While I was told I couldn't have any, I was also told that I could have an ectopic pregnancy, which is the baby is born in the fallopian tubes, or conceived in the, and so that was my biggest worry, is that my baby is in the fallopian tube, and now I have this choice to make. So on top of getting the news that you're pregnant, now I'm worried again, because am I gonna have to give up my baby?
I was at work and I said, so what did they say? And she's like, they can't find nothing wrong with me. And I started getting mad. I'm like, what do you mean they can't find nothing wrong with you? You're at a hospital, your back hurts, you need to find out what's wrong with you. Tell them run more tests. And she's like, no, babe, they said there's nothing wrong with me because I'm pregnant. And when I heard those words, I just started yelling at the top of my lungs. The reason why I'm like just so energetic and just so excited, like, why can't you be excited for a God that we serve that can do stuff like this?
We call everybody.
Well, not everybody.
We
just,
call our prayer community.
Yeah, the ones that were praying hard for us.
We for sure gave them a call. John's mom was one of the first ones we called, and till this day we still talk about the story, because she was in JCPenney's in the shoe department, and she started crying, and the associate came over and was like, ma'am, is everything okay? And she's like, these are happy tears, these are answered prayer tears.
Fast forward after Aiden was born, but our second hope in Southern California, she went back. We again considered gypsies. Yes, we moved back to Southern California, and we had Hope Victoria, and the doctor that delivered Hope was not able to be there. So the doctor that was on call was the doctor that told her that she could never have kids. And I never knew that. So like after she delivered and she went on, this was like, hey, that's the doctor that said I could never have kids. And right there, I so wanted to stand up and be like, you can't say that. Like, I can't do this. Like, you know what I mean? But I told Nessa, I was like, I'm pretty sure she knew, because she looked at her chart like maybe 4 times before she came in to present herself to us. So like, it was awesome to see, like, damn, yep, that's how great my God is.
After having Aiden, I was okay with only having the one child, but God had other plans. And so in 2016 we had our first daughter, and then in 2017 we had our third child, Hezekiah. And in 2020 was a rough year for myself. We actually had 2 miscarriages in 2020. And that was a rough time. 2 miscarriages in 2020, and then in 2022 we had our 4th child. Our third one he was 6, and we had our 4th child, and the Lord said, no, you need one more. And so we added Isaiah to the mix, and now we've got 4 children, and very blessed.
4 blessings, 4 miracles, 4 miracles.
Yeah, 3 boys and a girl.